Hello everyone, welcome back. Stories from r/MaliciousCompliance. Story 1. I work as a field researcher, so my job requires me to drive around to a lot of different locations. Because of this, I also get paid my hourly wage for travel time. This only includes everything to the job site, so job site to home or office to job site are paid, but office to home isn't paid. We frequently have to end our day at the office to drop off items and resupply. However, most of the time, my colleagues and I just write all driving time, since our homes and offices are close by, and, in practice, it actually saves time. So I started this project 3 months ago. This project was in a city, a 45 minutes drive away from home, and a 1-hour drive from the office I usually use and to which I am assigned. This is on a very traffic-prone highway, BTW. However, in the same city, I had an assignment. We also had an office, so I started using that office to drop off and resupply instead of my normal office. My manager noticed this, so asked me why I still wrote 1,5 hours drive time a day instead of 45 minutes and pointed me to my contract where it is put as I explained before. I replied to him telling him I would drive to my usual office then so I could write the time anyway. He couldn't do anything against it and hung up. 2 weeks later, after I had 4 hours of unnecessary paid time written extra, thanks to traffic jams and the extra drive time, he told me that from that point on, I could just write the time from the city office to home. I have an awesome manager. Story 2. So, Vietnam just implemented a new law that fines heavily people who don't comply with traffic lights. About 5 to 20 million dong, which is about 1 to 2 months of average wage here. This causes a situation where, even when there is an emergency, like an ambulance or a fire truck needing to pass through, many people just won't move to let those cars pass by. Some comments on the internet even said they would rather let a stranger pass away than let their family go hungry. Yay, I don't know. I think it is malicious for sure. There are of course rules that stated if you disobey traffic rules in emergency situation, you won't be fined, but it seems like many people won't risk it or they just don't know the rules that well. I personally would move for emergency vehicles, so I'm not exactly thrilled with this. Story 3. So a few years ago I got back into truck driving after my daughter was around 2 to 3 years old. There weren't many companies who would take someone that had been out of the game that long, so I had to settle on one of the bigger companies. What a mistake that was. Before this, I had no issues as a professional truck driver with having driver-facing, or inward-facing, cameras. I don't do anything illegal or stupid behind the wheel, so it didn't matter. It does now. This company had stuck the camera that faced inwards and outwards along the area where the visor would cover the windshield. As most things like this happen, it was a recordable offense to have the visor not only block out the sun from laser beaming me in the face, but having the visor down block the camera. I got calls about it constantly. I asked them what I should do. Don't cover the camera. But the sun limits my vision. Don't cover the camera. I can't stick anything on the windshield to block the sun, this is unsafe. What do you want me to do? Don't block the camera. Can you move it somewhere else? No. How am I supposed to see during sunrise and sunset hours? Don't block the camera. It came down to them threatening my job and livelihood, that if I blocked the camera one more time, they'd to remotely deactivate the truck and force me out with a local police escort. So, I started to find nice safe places to stop every single early morning and evening when I was driving, where the sun would come through the windshield. My dispatcher, understanding of a man that he has asked me why loads were being laid and why I was stopping so frequently for so many hours. So I told him, safety wouldn't compromise, and I can't freaking see out the window with the sun laser beaming me in the face. I'm not crashing into someone because a damned camera is being blocked when I haven't done anything to warrant this kind of abuse. I apologized to him, but told him this would continue. He was able to schedule loads out to where I had the stopping time, but, ultimately, they fired me anyway, after 5 months. Bonus. I was told I was unsafe, stupid, shouldn't drive a truck, should find work that fits a woman better, and that I wouldn't be hireable anywhere, even in those sketchy second chance companies where the pay, equipment, and safety is crap. Joke's on them. After 2 years of running for a company that treats me like I'm a human being and not some seat-warming robot, 4 of their little company trucks have been seen by little ol' me in the ditch or median on I-29 this year, after a 2-day winter storm. My truck? Still running. Currently waiting on unload. Story 4. I work as a breakfast cook for the largest hotel chain in the world at a 4-star, single-lettered hotel in the largest French-speaking province in Canada. Each cook is given a stipend of $200 to buy personal equipment, peelers, rasps, knives, etc. I bought a 7-inch non-stick, ceramic frying pan for myself. They have 7-inch Teflon pans here already, but due to people not taking care of them, they are mostly scratched. It is worth noting that our current chef was brought in to lower the costs of the kitchen, so our quality of food has gone down drastically. During the holiday break while I was off, they bought new egg pans, but they were 8 inches instead of our traditional 7. When I filed my receipt, I was told by HR that the pan I bought wouldn't be reimbursed. I paid $35 for it. They told me that the hotel is supposed to cover the cost of pans, so too bad, so sad. Okay. Fine, then. I will use your larger pans for omelets. Now, our omelets are too big for the plates, and I have to use more inventory to make the omelets look like we aren't skimping on our product. Good thing you guys wouldn't pay me back for the pan that costs half the price of what you bought the new pans for at a larger size and cost. And now I have a nice egg pan at home. Story 5. I work remotely for a small company, 100 employees, and based on my contract, I have to return to the office for a week 4 times a year. The last time I went back up was in November. In the contract, it's laid out that my employer pays 100% of hotel and gas/airfare. Normally, this is an extremely uneventful routine. It's a mid-sized Midwestern city with not much to do. It is what it is. A few months before I went back up, we had our financial audit, and one thing that was pointed out to our accounting department was a lack of controls on purchasing. The way it used to be was, every manager/supervisor had a company credit card with a $1,500 balance, and as long as we stayed under that limit, we didn't have to do any kind of purchase orders. After our audit, my accounting team decided to make purchase orders 100% of their focus. Going forward, it doesn't matter what it was, what the situation was, if you didn't have an approved purchase order you could not make the transaction. All this happened in early October as I was trying to book my hotel for my on-site week in November. Normally I have freedom in choosing when I go on-site, but I was requested to go that specific week by my CEO and CFO as we were launching some strategic planning and they wanted me on-site. So, I put the purchase order in for the hotel, and I don't hear anything back. I forget about it for a couple of weeks, then remember, mid-October, that I still don't have a hotel room booked. When I initially made the request, it was about $550 for 4 nights. Looking again, in mid-October, it was now up to $700 for 4 nights. I look around and notice that, the same week I'm supposed to go up there, there's a concert in the same city, followed by a big college sporting event in that town. I send an email to my accounting folks that I need to book a hotel, rates are going up, room availability is going down. Yada, yada, yada. I get a tersely worded email back, saying that everyone has different priorities, and my purchase order will be addressed once all the ones before it are done. So, I sit back and wait, and keep checking every other day, and keep seeing prices go up. I send a weekly email asking if it's approved yet, and I keep getting absolute silence back. Finally, a week before, I email my accounting team, with the CFO included, saying, if I don't book a room that day, there wouldn't be any left, and I wouldn't be able to make it up for the strategic planning work. About 30 minutes later, I get back an email that says, word for word, you are authorized to reserve a hotel room for 4 nights. Cool. I booked it, that $550 room is now $1,200. I book it and move on with my life and don't think any of it. Last week, I got around to uploading my credit card receipts and submitted my expense report, which included that $1,200 hotel stay. I got a call from my CFO today, just exploding on me, furious about where the hell did I stay that cost that much, and what was I thinking. I very calm. Just forwarded the original purchase order and all the emails I sent, saying that prices were raising. I had dead silence on the phone as he read through the email chains and just said, for F's sake. Then hung up. At the end of the day, all supervisors got an email that the purchase order system was being shut down until they could figure out how to manage it better. Story 6. So, my parents bought the river/stilt house next to their house for me to move into, to help me out in a number of ways. That's super awesome, and I'm forever grateful. However, my mother doesn't like to always think things through, and she rushes them. God forbid you disagree with her. So, it happened that, apparently, I just had to get moved to the river house before this recent blizzard hit, or the world would fall apart, or something. Okay, fine. But the problem is, that the previous owner died halfway through renovating the place, and it doesn't have functional water and sewer. But, my mother, in her infinite wisdom, decides that doesn't matter, and that I can just walk next door to my parents' place every time I need to use the bathroom until my dad finishes getting the water and sewer done. She said he would finish it the day, or the next, after I officially got moved. And then she said the quote that is the title. Well, I know my dad, and that was never gonna happen. And while I'm no stranger to having to piss in a bucket or in a hole in the ground when camping, needing to poop and having to do it in a trash bag in a bucket, and then having to deal with that is something that I just do not want to have to do. I've been here 4 days now, and while I tried to not eat/barely eat over the weekend, I got moved Saturday before the storm hit, in hopes my dad would be able to finish the water/sewer, all the outside stuff is done, just needs the inside the house stuff done, on Sunday or Monday that didn't happen. So, I finally had to eat some actual food, not just candy, to keep my blood sugar up, come Monday and Tuesday, 'cause I was starting to get super woozy and dizzy. Well, it's 1 o'clock in the middle of the night now, and I woke up with nature frickin' calling. So I, as quickly as I could, without having an accident, threw my outside gear on. It's currently almost 0 Fahrenheit at my house outside, to run over to my parents' house next door, only to discover that their door wouldn't open. The handle would turn, but the door wasn't budging. It was stuck 'cause it was frozen, so I proceeded to use my old cop knock from my EMS days to get one of them to open up 'cause I'm about to poop my pants right there on their porch at this point. My mom comes and opens the door a second later, thank Jeebus, and tries to lecture me on that I didn't need to scare her and dad awake at 1 a.m. Meanwhile, I'm running to their bathroom while pulling my pants down and just loudly yelled, "I gotta effing poop and I ain't using a trash bag." After taking care of the business, I went to go back to my new house, and my mom mentions that maybe she shouldn't have had me move before the water/sewer was hooked up. I will continue to not give an F about waking her up at night if I need to take care of business. She said I could come over any time I needed to do so to use their bathroom, and it's not like I can schedule when my body needs to do its thing to only happen during normal waking hours. Oh well. Maybe now she might actually start to listen when people try to point out why she shouldn't rush certain things. It probably won't happen, but a girl can dream. Edit to add, I'm paying my parents back for this new house. Once my old house sells, with the proceeds left over after the mortgage is taken care of. The new house is a stilt house on a river bank that they got for only $20K. It's not like they just bought me a house outright to give to me. And the move easily could have waited another week. The old house was completely livable. Mom is just irrationally impatient about things and doesn't listen to others at all when she gets an idea in her head about how things should go. Story 7. I work a service industry adjacent position that requires a flexible schedule. I've been fine with this, and take a day or two off when possible. I worked 18 days straight over Christmas, with my first day off being New Year's Eve. I didn't schedule time off, I just didn't get scheduled. The day before my boss asked for me to cover a shift. I told him I was going out of town. He allowed it, but when we talked next, he said, "I was upset when you said you couldn't work because you hadn't scheduled time off on the schedule. I thought I was going to get a day off finally, so I was disappointed when you told me you weren't able to help." I explained, since it was both the holiday and my first day off in over 2 weeks, I didn't think I had to officially schedule it as time off, but I will in the future. Guess who suddenly has scheduled time off for every Saturday and Sunday, for the foreseeable future? I'm so done. Edit, all these comments have been so validating. This job makes me feel like an insane person, but reading these comments reminds me that it's an insane job. It's really hard to explain the mess that is this company. I've tried a bit in the comments. My boss is the owner of the company. We've been short-staffed the whole time I've worked here, and he says he's been trying to hire more people non-stop. I've realized the urgency and last-minute nature of filling in is a foundational part of the work culture. I've told him I would be able to fill in more, if he'd be able to give me more notice. He replied with a laugh, "Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?" Story 8. I worked at a gas station during COVID. It was terrible for a lot of reasons, so I searched for better jobs. I eventually found and interviewed for one on a Friday, and got a job offer on the spot. I was scheduled to start on Monday, which also happened to be my next gas station shift. Immediately after the interview, I called my gas station manager to tell them about the job offer. Without even asking what I called for, the manager began saying things like, "The floor wasn't clean enough, that wasn't stocked enough, XYZ. When I eventually got a word in, I told them, "There's actually something I wanted to talk to you about," and the manager replied, "Well, can it wait until Monday?" At that point, I was so utterly done with that job that I told the manager, "Just return." Yes. It can wait until Monday. When Monday came along, I showed up at the gas station well before my scheduled shift, to turn in my key before starting my other job. When the manager saw me there early, they knew something was up and so came outside to meet me. I told them about the new job and asked if the gas station could increase my wage to match. The manager told me, "You know I can't do that," and I said, "Okay, then I'm gonna take the other job," before handing over my key. My manager asked, "Why did you wait until now to tell me?" And I replied, "Because you asked me to." The manager didn't say another word to me, but, after a pause, let out a long groan. Then, I got in my car and never looked back. Story 9. This happened last weekend. I still can't believe the chaos that unfolded. My coworker, Ashley, has been planning her gender reveal for months. She was set on making it the most epic event ever. She rented out a section of a busy park, invited about 50 people, and kept hyping it up like it was going to be a legendary moment. At one point, she mentioned she was going to set off a huge smoke bomb to reveal the gender. I'm talking a massive smoke bomb that would cover the entire park with thick, colorful smoke. She was convinced it would be amazing and unforgettable. Now, I've seen a lot of gender reveals, but this sounded like a disaster waiting to happen. So, I raised some concerns. I said, Ashley, are you sure this is allowed at the park? I know they have some strict rules about fireworks and pyrotechnics. Have you checked with anyone first? She waved me off and said, it'll be fine. No one will care. The park will love it. It's just a little smoke. I wasn't convinced, so I tried again. Ashley, that's not just a little smoke. That thing is huge, and it could easily catch fire or cause a panic with the neighbors. Have you thought about how dangerous it could be? Ashley laughed and said, you're just saying that because you've never done something this cool. Trust me, no one will care. It's going to be incredible, and you'll be jealous you didn't think of it. At that point, I realized there was no stopping her. She was determined to go through with it, no matter the consequences. So, I decided to fully comply with her plan. She wanted it big? Fine. I'd let her have it, and make sure it was unforgettable in every possible way. The day of the reveal, I show up to the park. Ashley's grinning like a maniac, holding this massive smoke bomb in her hands, ready to light it up. I'm not about to let her handle that thing by herself. No way. I'm going to make sure the reveal is unforgettable, but I'm not going to let her burn the place down in the process. She lights the bomb, and within seconds, a huge cloud of blue smoke starts filling the air. But as the smoke rises, something goes wrong. A spark from the bomb lands on the dry grass below it, and the grass immediately catches fire. Ashley sees the fire and starts panicking. Put it out. Put it out. She screams at me. So, I do exactly what she tells me. I grab a nearby bucket, fill it with water, and dump it on the fire, putting it out before it can spread. But as I'm doing this, Ashley freaks out. What the hell are you doing? She yells. You're ruining the reveal. It's supposed to be unforgettable, not about putting out fires. I just look at her and say, well, the fire needed to be put out before it spread. You didn't think a giant spark from a huge smoke bomb could catch the grass on fire? She's livid now. I don't care about the fire. The point was for everyone to see the smoke and get excited. You ruined it. While she's yelling, fire alarms start blaring in multiple nearby houses. People think there's a real fire, and 911 calls start coming in. The fire trucks arrive, sirens blaring, and now we've got a full-blown emergency response happening because of a gender reveal. The firefighters start walking door to door, checking for actual fires, and when they realize it's just a smoke bomb, they're not happy. They give Ashley a hefty fine for violating public safety regulations and causing a disturbance. Meanwhile, the park staff is furious, and they shut down the event early. The park is evacuated, and everyone is stuck standing around in the smoke while the fire trucks block the road. The next day at work, Ashley walks in, fuming. Can you believe what happened? She rants. The fire department was totally overreacting, and the neighbors were acting like it was the end of the world. And you ruined the whole thing by putting out the fire. I needed that to burn for the full effect. I just smiled and shrugged. Ashley, I did exactly what you asked. You told me to put out the fire, and I did. But maybe next time, think about the consequences before lighting off a giant smoke bomb in a public park. She went absolutely red in the face and called me unsupportive and overbearing, saying I should have let it burn. But honestly, I just complied with her request and followed through. She wanted an unforgettable reveal, and I made sure she got exactly what she asked for, just with a little extra fire safety along the way. Story 10. One of my banks merged, and then closed the branch that was in my town. The closest branch was a 30-minute drive, so I did all my banking online. At some point, I had to do something, and online wasn't working out, so I drove to the closest branch. I stood in line, got to the counter, and was told, you could have done this online. I got pissed about this comment, probably more than I should have, but okay, let's play. I tried for about 15 minutes and kept getting an error, so I waited until this morning, tried again, got the same error and decided to drive a half hour for help. CSR, you could have called the toll-free number for assistance. Or I could have come here for help. CSR, yes, but calling might have solved the issue. Okay, let's do this instead. Let's close the accounts and that'll solve the issue. At this point the manager steps in and tries to smooth things over. Nope. There's no reason for me to have to spend an hour of my time driving to and from a bank. I could move this money to AA, BB, CC, or DD, which are all 6 minutes from my house. Manager closes out the accounts, gives me a check, and out I go. Drive back to my town and throw the money in another bank. Then, I get an email asking me to take a survey, so I did, and noted all the above. The next day, I signed into my account online, and it generated another survey request. I clicked in and took the survey again, and copied and pasted the replies to a Google Doc. That way, when I checked my account online, every single day, and a new survey request was made, every single day, I could take it in a minute. So far I've done it daily for over a month. Why keep asking for my opinion, so who am I not to oblige? That's it for now. See you in the next post.